Welcome back to the 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show. My name is Wayne Kimmel, managing partner of 76 Capital, the sports tech venture capital company. On this show, I interview top sports entrepreneurs, athletes, and executives who are shaping and many times changing the sports business industry. You can subscribe to our show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our 76 Capital website. Today, my guest on our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show is Justin Papadakis, who is the Deputy CEO and Chief Real Estate Officer of the USL. During the past decade at the USL, Justin has held various leadership positions and roles, all at the senior level of the USL. And he's making his second appearance on the show. So, Justin, we're really excited to have you back. His first time he was on the show was back in August of 2021. And I remember you talking about all the exciting things that were going to happen on across the USL, and many of those things that have happened and a lot more. So, Justin, welcome back to our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show.
Thanks, Wayne. I appreciate you having me on. Big fan of the podcast, and so excited to talk about the great momentum we have at the USL and across soccer in the United States.
I mean, soccer across the United States has just been booming, and the growth of your league and all the things that you're doing is just incredible. So let's kick it right off with, I mean, you guys made an incredible announcement just recently about the idea of having promotion and relegation in a U.S. soccer league. I mean, talk about what's going on there and how you guys got to making that decision.
So it's been years in planning with in close collaboration with our owners. What we started from is we want to be a league that matches the ambition of our clubs. And so promotion relegation has, I think most fans say around the world, it's what really creates a differentiation in football or soccer. Because it makes every game matter and every game has a consequence. And so that is what we wanted to bring to the United States and to the USL. And we can't wait for the excitement around that to start because our fans have just overwhelmingly asked us for it. And again, what we try to be we're guided by our fans and we're guided by our players. And as a player, nothing more important to players than having the match matter, and nothing more important to fans than having the match matter. And so breaking out of kind of the American construct of playoffs, where it's just the teams at the top at the end of the season, that those games matter. Now, whether you're at the top or the bottom, and across all of our leagues, every game's going to matter. Every game's going to be exciting, and I think that has a lot of implications for viewership, for attendance, for intrigue from our players who want to play in the USL. So across the board, it's super exciting, and we're looking forward to being the league in the United States that fans can come to enjoy that.
So, in Europe, when there's the promotion and relegation piece, I mean, it is a financial hit if you get relegated. Is that going to happen with the USL and the way you guys do it, or are you going to do it somehow differently than that?
So what we've spent a couple of years thinking about is how do we embrace and enhance the positive aspects of promotion relegation, the things I mentioned just a second ago,
right,
without having the negatives, which, as you just mentioned, would be the financial devastation aspect of it. So one of the big kind of structural differences here in the United States is that from a percent of revenue, our media component is very small relative to Europe from at the team level. And so when a team moves from Division I to Championship or Championship to League One, that financial devastation won't be there because the media component of their revenue is very small. And so that's, obviously very positive. But we're able to still have the positives of it. And with our growth, we're increasing the number of regional rivalries, or derbies as they're called around the world. And so we're only going to enhance that through the promotion relegation structure, because those regional rivalries, whether they're in League One or Championship or Division One, they will get to know each other through tournaments. And then once they move up or down, the fans will be familiar with them, so those rivalries will already exist.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really exciting, and I think it's so smart to be able to, you'll be able to look at, the positives and negatives, and actually be able to do what you think is best in the situation. I mean, and then you mentioned, you've had a new, new Division One league that you've also announced. How's that playing out?
So we've been, very fortunate, and a big part of our time is spent, with our city county partners. And first, we had to become municipally investable to build 15 plus thousand seat stadiums. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars per stadium. So we really have to be able to engage with our city and county partners to be able to finance those sides of stadiums. And so I think we have executed well on that. In conjunction with our team owners and our city and county and state partners, they all see the vision for being able to compete at the highest level. Our attendances demand larger stadiums. So we're going to be in a great place with our stadium pipeline on our expansion side. And this has been a multi-year process. So many of our existing stadiums were built with the 15,000 seat minimum in mind. And so, we fronted a lot of those expenses to make sure that when we needed to add seats, that could be done without having to rework the infrastructure of the entire stadium. So it's been a multi-year process, a lot of work and effort and investment from our team owners, from our city partners, from our county partners, what will make a true Division One in every sense of the word, whether it's the competition on the field, whether it's the community involvement off the field, the stadium district. It's going to feel first Division One, and that's what our fans and our players deserve.
Well, you mentioned earlier also this idea of like the different regions. I mean, you've really built out those regions to try to create rivalries and things like that. I mean, talk about some of the successful regions and maybe some of the different rivalries that are already existing right now, and things that you're trying to build for the future.
So I'll take you back to our original strategy, which is very different than other leagues. So we thought, because of the nature of building stadium and entertainment districts, they can take 2 years, they can take 4 years, they can take 10 years, and they can, of course, never happen. All the stars really have to align to get these stadium districts over the line. And so what we set out to do is, at the league level, myself and we have a big team here on our real estate side, that we've been in our markets for 10 years, in some cases, really creating relationships. I read your book, Wayne, and you talked a lot about, you have to be there, right? And so what we've been very focused on and is to make sure that we are there with our city and county partners. So I travel 3 weeks a month, same as most of my team, because we really have to create this grassroots and show why these stadiums, are going to be the community living rooms, and these districts are going to have billions of dollars of economic impact to our communities. And so that's something we spend a lot of time articulating with our city and county and state partners. And that's where I think you'll see, especially in 2025, this massive growth, the largest growth ever in terms of number of teams signed and stadium approved ever in soccer in the United States will happen this year. And that is a product largely of, the past 10 years that we've been working on all these stadium deals. So it's exciting that the number of projects is there, but most importantly is the quality of the projects. And that's what brings sustainability, that brings a great fan experience, and importantly, that brings a great training or playing experience for our players, and that creates a great media product for our fans to watch on TV, because the light, the sound, the energy, the soundtrack of the game, all of that comes into the facilities, and that's what we've been working on.
Well, I remember going back to when we first talked about the sort of the 2-hour experience, right? And now with the stadium districts, right? I mean, like what is it like? I mean, one of the things I've talked about a number of times, and recently had the chairman of the board of MGM come on our show, and it was talking about how the CEO of MGM talks about this 72-hour experience if you come to Vegas for an NFL game, right? I mean, the same kind of thing, I think, at your districts, right? So you have the game 2 hours, and then, but you have all these ancillary opportunities for the fans to really participate and have a drink or get something to eat or be entertained, have entertainment, which is so much more than just the game and the product that's on the pitch.
Yeah, I think you articulated that very well. Soccer is a 2-hour fixed window event. And so, which is, you have to think about the holistic fan journey in a different way than, for example, even if you have baseball, which, could be 3 hours, it could be 5 hours. And so for soccer, and when you add in the fact that we have a really young demographic, that they really want to come down and have a full night experience. They want to come out before and they want to go out after. And so we've been thinking a lot about districts. And when we, again, are working with our city and county partners, we have a very, very high preference for a district versus just a stadium. Sometimes those are a lot easier. You don't need as much land, just kind of put it down. But we've been very disciplined to really try, even though it's a lot harder to put these projects together, but that will, in the long term, we think, create a better fan experience. And that holistic fan journey is so important, because fans and people have a lot of choices of how they spend their entertainment time and money. It's very easy just to watch something on your phone. But we think, and our thesis really revolves around that. Now, when people go out, they are going out for an experience. They don't just go out to buy something transactionally. And so having that full experience with their friends and family creates a enhanced product offering, which, with the center of it being amazing men and women soccer players on the field, but that's wrapped in a holistic experience that not only is better for the fans, but it also creates significantly more economic impact for our small business owners in and around our stadium. And so we have dual mandates in that sense, because we are community assets. And so driving economic activity to our small business owners around our stadium is something we think a lot about, because it's so important as members of the community that we're bringing value beyond what happens just on the field.
Well, you just mentioned, women's soccer and what you've done with the USL Super League with women's soccer. I believe you have 8 teams now, right? You started that in 2024 last year. How's that going? And I it looks like from some of the work that we've done, we see there you're about to add a number of other teams to that part of the USL Super League.
So, as you just stated, we are in our first season of Super League, and I think there is no question that women's sports is here to stay. It's not just having a moment. It is here to stay. Fans are telling us that, corporate partners are telling us that, media partners are telling us that, and our city and county state partners are telling us that, and where they're looking to invest their money, the having a women's not only side of the business, but many times as the top of top of the bill, so to speak, is critically important. And so when we looked at the how we could contribute to the women's side of the game, this goes back many years where we wanted to have a full pathway for girls up to our amazing women's athletes so that we could grow the game. Part of growing the game, though, and what makes to have a very successful sport is you need this a full ecosystem around it. So we have the best women's players here in the United States. However, what we have not done as a as a country, as a society, I would say, at large, though, is enable these amazing women's athletes to compete on the same stage, quality of stage, as their male counterparts. And so having a professional game, you take the Cowboys and you put them in the high school stadium, and you're not at AT&T without the pomp and circumstances and quality of the fan experience. It's not really the Cowboys anymore. And so when we can, and what we believe strongly is, and that's now very true, if you place these amazing women's athletes on the same quality stage, they can not only equal the men, but they can, in many cases, surpass them in terms of being a commercial entity. And so that's why our stadium efforts are so important, because we have to put them on the right quality stage. But then from the ecosystem side, as on the player aspect, we were very thoughtful creating we have our USL Youth, which we have thousands of players, to our girls academy, to our W League, which is the league for essentially the top college players around the country, up to our professional division. And so there's 40,000 women's college soccer players. Up until this year, when we started the Super League, there were only about 230 positions available. And so wow, when you include veteran players and your position, even though there might be a couple dozen positions available, but for your position in particular, maybe there's 1 or 2 spots. And so I think over the next 5 years or so, we're going to 5x the number of women's professional playing opportunities, but we are also going to 5x the number of women front office executives and coaches and broadcast talent, referees. So we're really thinking about it holistically to make sure that we can contribute to the ecosystem of women's soccer growing, because there's certainly commercial demand for it if we can put them on an equal platform as their male counterparts.
I have to ask you, I mean, like, this is a lot of the conversation around sports today is all around, you're hearing all this money coming into the sports industry, private equity. One of the things that we talk about a lot at 76 Capital, and now it's become, I think it's become, something that everyone's talking about is really talking about the sports as truly becoming and really is its own asset class. Where's all the money coming from for you guys to build out the league, to build out this? So, they have such a grand vision of what you're doing. Is it from your owners? Are you bringing private equity groups in, sovereign wealth funds? Who's talking to you? I'm sure you're kind of in the mix with a lot of them, but is there anything you can kind of share around that?
So part of the ecosystem I just mentioned, one of the big pillars of that, of course, is the investors, and which for us is our team owners. And so, as you just described, sports has become, it was kind of a fringe element of in your alternative asset allocation. Sports was kind of it was more like a yacht, right? Where it's kind of a fun thing up until recently. And so for sports to take the next big jump up, it had to turn from a yacht, like a play investment, to a serious part of the alternative asset space. And I think that there's been great strides in that in the past several years. Part of that is, I think we definitely have to thank our NBA, NFL, friends who really showed historically that sports it's not correlated with the market. You can have above market returns from an investment standpoint. But at the USL space, we've also shown the ability and the consistent track record for that. As you mentioned, the conversations with investors, now they're looking for, again, where can I get the largest return on my investment? But they also, in terms of calculating that return, a lot of investors will look at the city that they want to make that in. And so we have many investors that they grew up in the city, they live there now, they went to university there, and they want to invest their dollars in something that they can get a great return with USL, but equally as important is that they can have an impact on the community that they really care about. And so when you can combine both those things, that creates a great overall return. And so I believe, talking our book a little bit, but we as an investment, we are still a lot earlier in our growth cycle than the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, which are more mature properties, for sure. But by being earlier, we still have several of the largest revenue streams, media, player transfers, among others, that I think we can, on a percentage basis, outperform on an annualized growth perspective those other mature properties. So I think that's why investors are coming in. They're also coming in because they see the value in women's sports, which again, from a stage perspective, is still early on compared to the mature men's equivalents. And so, from an investor perspective, they're really seeing that opportunity for asset appreciation. When you combine them within the USL model, you also get, when you build a stadium, you only have men's only play 20 days a year and women play 20 days a year. So you have a lot of synergies bringing them together, and same at the front office. And so what's special about soccer is we call our teams clubs because they're more than just one team. You have typically a men's team and a women's team, and then the youth teams underneath it. And so having that holistic club and having that great youth participation at both the boys and girls side within our markets, I think really creates a lot of value from an investor perspective. So I think that's why they're coming in. Again, as you mentioned your book, we're at a lot of conferences, we're at a lot of dinners, where it's not just about, and you say in your book, not just about getting business cards, right? It's about how you really create relationships, how you can articulate that strategy. And that's what, we, I think, have articulated well. So from the investor, from our city and county partners, this private-public partnership, and that's what you need to create a successful professional team. That is accelerating extremely fast, and the result of that is high growth and high quality growth, and that's what that's what's going to make USL successful, is high quality growth.
I think you've had some really great success in certain cities so far. Are there a couple of examples you'd like to share of cities that have really done it well and are some of your quote unquote championship cities so far?
Sure. Well, we love all of our teams equally, but you look at historically a Louisville that has done very well. But what's important, I think, is being able to replicate that over and over again. So this past weekend I was at our stadium opener in Rhode Island. Great example of a private-public partnership, new first-class stadium, which now they're going to start the ancillary development portion of the project. Sold out, 10,000 plus people. Same thing the next day in Portland, Maine. They've really captured the imagination of not only the city of Portland, but the state of Maine. And if you go there, from the governor on down, Hearts of Pine is something that, even though they just played their first home match, everyone knows about. And most of the state has a jersey already. You can take that to the Antelope Valley, the city of Lancaster, outside of LA. Same thing. When you go, they have they've only played a couple of home games, but they've captured the imagination of their community. And I always say, like, when you go to a game, it's great that all the seats are filled, but it's very different than going to a game when all the seats are filled, but no one's sitting down because everyone's up cheering and singing. Like, you'll know from the soundtrack of the fans in the game how much excitement there is in a community about their team. They aren't just going there, but they're participating in in the game. And so that's what creates really special clubs, is that community involvement and community passion for their club. And that's what that's what we're doing. When you look, before our team in Portland came, their closest professional team would be probably the New England Revolution, right? And so driving a couple hours
Yep.
to but they live in Maine. They don't live in Boston, right? And they're very proud that they live in Maine, in Portland. And so, but they didn't have a choice, right? That was the closest professional team. And so now, having a team of their own, you can see what that means to them to have a team of their own. Same thing in Lancaster. They, again, they can go down to our friends at LAFC or LA Galaxy.
Right.
Having a club of their own in their community is very powerful, and you're seeing that with the success of our expansion teams.
But you also have it's been really interesting to see some of the breakout stars of the league on the men's side and the women's side. Who are some of your top players that we should keep an eye on? I mean, I see some of these players. I mean, even like I was looking at Addie McCain, from Fort Lauderdale. She leads the league in goals right at this point, and she's recorded a hat trick. I mean, there's some really spectacular players that are playing on both the men's and women's side of the USL.
So what's going to be the most, I think, to me, the most exciting thing is that we have not seen anywhere close to the potential for the American soccer player in terms of where they're going to be on the world stage. On the men's side, because they're a little bit different than men's and women's, but on the men's side, we have developed players for college, and that's great. But that it's a very different strategy to develop professional players, and so we've been very focused again on the stadiums, everything I just mentioned, but we're also very focused with our city county partners and our team owners about building first-class training facilities. And so, you mentioned Fort Lauderdale. I think they have one of the, and big credit to Tommy Smith and the ownership group down there. They've created one of the best training centers in soccer in the world, with their partnership with with NSU. And so, players, if you're a young player now, the ability to have high quality training, high quality coaching, high quality facilities, and getting professional minutes at the professional level, their ability to develop as soccer players compared to, I'm 39, not that far out compared to when I was, playing in youth soccer in the United States, it's off the charts. We have the best athletes here in the world. We haven't developed them right on the men's side for being pro. On the women's side, we have the best players in the world here, despite the fact that we haven't given them all the tools. All mentioned on the men's side also haven't existed on the women's side. So if you start out as the best in the world, imagine what the American women can do when you give them all the tools. I mean, that's exciting, right? And so, and we're able to give them those tools in markets all across the country. They aren't going to have to move across across the whole United States just to get high quality training. I went over to Europe when I was in high school to get better, to be in a professional environment. You aren't going to have to do that anymore because Tommy with his group in Fort Lauderdale to all over the United States, we are going to, within the USL, we are going to be a place where you can go and really refine your craft. And so when you combine that with being amazing athletes and having the volume of teams, so no matter where you happen to be born in the United States, you have a professional soccer team in your market or close by, the potential for the American player, men's and women's, boys and girls on the international stage, we haven't even come close to seeing what we're capable of. And that's compared to the rest of the world, which has had this, right? So they're at they're at a long-term run rate of their peak performance. We are way down here. And so when we get up to which we're going to be in a couple years, no question that the USL Championship, Division One, League One, Super League, we are going to produce some of the best players in the world, and you're able to do that at home here in the United States.
Amazing. Well, look, as we wrap up on our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show, again, it's so great to have you back on the show, Justin. And I got to ask you, I mean, the last time you were on the show, you talked about you went to the first World Cup when you were a kid here in the U.S., and now we're a year away from the next one. How excited are you about that? Just as on a personal level, but also what it's going to really mean to the USL and your overall league.
So the purpose of the '94 World Cup, which I had the fortune of going to, was to stimulate the growth of professional men's soccer here in the United States. And as you just said, when we bookend that with 2026, we can be so proud as the USL, the MLS, the NWSL, our friends at US Soccer. We have moved this game forward beyond anyone's wildest imaginations. And we're just getting started. And so the ecosystem, again, from players, of course, fans, owners, leagues with the NWSL and the MLS and the USL, we're all working towards growing the game. And that takes an ecosystem. It takes great leadership. And what we're so proud and privileged to get to do every day is contribute to that growth. And so without doubt, my favorite part of the job is going to see and announce new clubs, because now that community has, is in Fort Wayne and several others, just recently, and now they have a professional team, and there's certainly a correlation to having a team in your market, being able to go to it every week, and the kind of ceiling of the sport in the market. And so we're going to now raise that ceiling significantly, and it's just a pleasure to get to contribute to the game that really gave all of us so much on a day-to-day basis.
Well, again, it's great to have you back on the show, Justin. I mean, it is really amazing to see the growth. Let's do this in a shorter amount of time than 3 years from now. But I mean, I'm really excited. I hope that we get a chance to spend some time, at some of these games together. Really, really excited to see all the amazing things that have happened across your league. And best of luck to you and the whole USL. And thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
On behalf of the entire 76 Capital team, thank you for joining us for this edition of our Sports Leadership Show. Please remember to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast network or on the 76 Capital website. You can also explore the hundreds of episodes we've produced over the past several years on those same networks. And as always, go out there and make it happen.